Yeah, a lot of these UFOs have been captured on video, some of them over water.
What is that?
There are extraterrestrial bases under the water.
It's definitely underwater UFO activity.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Scared the living hell out of me.
Yeah, those things could literally eat a person.
Yeah.
You may never want to take a dive in the ocean or even go near it after watching this video. Get ready for a huge shocker as Garrett Reisman reveals NASA's underwater discovery.
Rotating right around it. I'd like to report a UFO.
The dark oceans. If you think that the part of the world where we live is all that there is to the planet, or most of it, then you would be shocked to know that a whole lot lies hidden and unexplored. Surprisingly, these hidden secrets of the world are even more vast when compared to the things we've seen, or would ever see. Scientists clearly understand this truth about our planet, and they strongly believe that the world does not really revolve around us. This is why we have agencies like NASA working hard and seeking to explore the hidden places in search of the unseen. However, one shocking thing is that NASA may have been focusing on the wrong place. Yep, they've been obsessed with space for years, but there's probably more going on down here than they would ever find in space. In fact, they know more about space than they would actually know about our world. And when the discussion comes to the oceans and seas, trust me, they know even much less.
We were talking about space, about how we know more about space than we do about the ocean, which is true.
When you look at the Earth from space, it has a striking blue color. And research has shown that the color actually comes from the large areas of water that covers the Earth. So, you know what that means. The Earth is more of water than it is of land, or the prominent greenery that we see around us. All right, let's put a figure to that. The waters cover 70% of the Earth's surface, and that's a whopping 2/3 of the Earth covered in blue. But here is the real shocker. The ocean alone holds 95% of the total volume of water found on Earth. I'm talking about 324 million cubic miles of water held in the ocean. Huge, huh? Now, you see why we may never really explore the oceans to its fullest. In fact, just about 10% of the ocean's volume has been explored by scientists, and that leaves a staggering 90% for whatever or whoever occupies it. I mean, just think about the kind of creatures that could be living freely in the deepest and darkest parts of the oceans. Okay, I bet you would only imagine some enormous fish or other aquatic creatures that we may never have seen before. Maybe some interesting aquatic plants that have never caught the eyes of scientists too. But what if I told you that some more terrifying and mind-boggling things could also be going on in the darkest parts of the ocean? Yeah, there could be some extraterrestrial and paranormal things happening too. Don't get it twisted. The deepest part of the ocean is full of jaw-dropping and terrifying creatures. Think of the good, the bad, and the ugly ones. The ocean is bubbling with life from the shore to the deepest parts of the sea. Talk of hundreds of thousands of marine species ranging from the tiniest algae to the enormous blue whale, the largest creature that has ever existed on Earth. These creatures add life and variety to the oceans, and a lot of them make the depths very dangerous for human explorers too. Talking of large sea creatures that make the ocean depths very dangerous for human explorers, Garrett Reisman had his share of the terror when he dived into the depths of the ocean. At the darkest part of the ocean, he encountered the biggest shock of his life when a creature with a huge eye suddenly bumped into him. The look of the monstrous creature was so terrifying that he screamed and trembled for a while. But, good for him, he was a trained diver, and he had a shelter built under the water. So he was able to run to safety before anything bizarre happened. And later on, he would be calm enough to figure out that the creature he had encountered was a huge fish, one of the biggest guys of the dark ocean depths.
And I took a big breath, and I went down, and I opened my eyes in my mask in the darkness with my flashlight, and I saw, like right in front of me, this huge eyeball.
As expected, the encounter would make him tremble for a while and probably rethink the idea of diving to the unexplored depths of the ocean. However, these terrific fishes may not be the most dangerous things that you would find in the great depths. Come to think of it, there seems to be some kind of weird relationship between humans and extraterrestrial beings, and they may actually choose these dark depths of the ocean as their hideouts. I mean, we've been more focused on space, and it's not likely that humans will ever think of descending to these dangerous depths, so it is definitely a safe space. Well, when you think about it, no one should really be blamed for not fully exploring the depths of waters. Not even the scientists, I guess. Humans are generally designed to live far from the depths of the ocean, just as the creatures that live in the dark depths are specifically designed to survive there. In fact, according to Garrett Reisman, trying to explore these depths could be one of the fastest ways to the afterlife.
But it's not a problem if you just stay. The problem is then if you stay, you build up all that nitrogen in your blood, and you can't go back up. So like if you run out of air or you lose sight of your buddy or something, you can't go to the surface because within a couple hours you'll be dead.
Wow.
So you can say that these beings and creatures have a huge advantage, and they could have been living freely in the depths for as long as you can imagine. However, they have only enjoyed the peaceful life of the ocean depths while it lasted. Right now, scientists now have access to mind-blowing technologies with which they can navigate the great depths. And, after thorough training, NASA has been able to send people to the depths and even plant mind-blowing technologies there. On this episode with Dan Soder, Joe Rogers spills the tea about NASA's new moves and how they have planted underwater listening devices to detect the movement of UFOs in the ocean. Now, this would mean that NASA now understands how the deep parts of the ocean have housed the most terrific beings for too long. And, on the other hand, it may also mean that they have made certain discoveries underwater, and they are trying to hide these discoveries from the people. No doubt, NASA knows something that we don't know, and they definitely do not want us to.
Saying that those underwater listening devices were most likely so that they could hear UFOs moving around.
Dude.
Because if there really are, imagine if there really are bases under the ocean and they know about it.
However, NASA may not be able to keep their secret for too long because the availability of new technology has made it possible for individuals to explore the ocean depths. On an episode with Joe Rogan, Garrett Reisman talks about how he spent 2 weeks underwater with his team. After years of working with NASA, Garrett Reisman has a wide range of experience in space, and now he uncovers the depths of the ocean to find out what NASA might be hiding.
Just you saying that. 2 weeks at the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah.
How deep?
It was exactly 20,000 millimeters.
What did Garrett Reisman find? Well, you're about to find out. Hidden technology underwater. The exploration of the ocean started in the 1920s when scientists started mapping out the ocean. Using sonar technology, an acronym which stands for Solar Navigation and Ranking, they made use of echo sounders which determined ocean depths. Using sound waves, the system revealed how the ocean floor is marked with several physical features ranging from wide plains to steep cliffs, deep canyons, and even huge mountains. Yep, many of these structures that are found on land are also present in the deep ocean floor. So you can say the ocean floor is a huge world of its own. Throughout the late 1900s, scientists were shocked by the massive physical structures and forms of life that exist in the depths of the ocean. However, it wasn't until recently that they found out that there is so much more. In fact, it gets even more shocking because the deepest parts of the oceans could be holding certain technologies that even scientists cannot fathom. Okay, I know that would sound weird, but trust me, the extraordinary world of the ocean may be home to certain creatures that are way ahead of humans as far as science and technology is concerned. Yeah, that brings us to one of the most terrifying discoveries that has been made in the ocean depths so far. A submarine UFO. In an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, he revealed how the government launched a fully weaponized nuclear submarine into the depths of the ocean. Though the intention was not to make any shocking discoveries, a world of surprise was waiting at the depths of the ocean. However, the surprise wasn't really a pleasant one, and the armless military assignment soon birthed a weird situation which raised questions in the hearts of people and boggled the minds of scientists for a long time. At a depth of about 260 meters, the submarine detected some strange objects moving towards them at an extraordinary speed. The speed of these strange objects was so intense and mind-blowing that it threw the military men into some kind of paranoia. With such speed at which the flying objects approached, they knew that something was off, and there could be danger. So, they decided to pay close attention, and the captain soon discovered that the flying objects were 6 disc-like objects moving towards the submarine. The flying objects were moving in a kind of formation that made it look like they were being controlled by something. And whatever was controlling them must be out of this world. As expected, the tension in the submarine rose to its peak as the military men could not put any meaning to the seemingly dangerous objects that were flying towards them. But they hadn't even seen it all. Things got even more intense when the captain found out that the flying were mimicking the submarine. Just when the captain ordered that the submarine be slowed down a bit, the strange objects slowed down at the same time. And, at this point, the captain had no choice but to call for an emergency surfacing of the submarine in order to avoid a collision, or something even more awkward. Fortunately, the submarine made it to the surface before any awkward situation happened, but the most bizarre part of the story was still ahead of them. While they were still curious about what these objects were, where they came from, and what they were doing at such a depth, the objects also made it to the surface. When they looked through their periscope, they saw the 6 objects rising out of the water as they disappeared into the sky at a mind-boggling speed.
Earth's atmosphere, and they found this thing went from above 60,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet above sea level in less than a second. They followed this thing, they locked onto it, it blocked their radar, it blocked their tracking systems rather, and then it jetted off at an impossible rate of speed.
For months and months, the guys who witnessed the incredible situation would be dumbfounded, and they would probably have their minds bubbling with questions. What were those objects? Could they have been occupied by some beings from another world? Maybe some aliens who just decided to visit their safe place in the depths of the ocean. Maybe that would also explain why their speed was out of this world. I mean, the only explanation that makes sense is that they were aliens or some beings who had access to technology that are presently far beyond our imaginations. However, another question would be why they chose to mimic the submarine when it slowed down. Thinking about it, they could just be as fascinated as the military guys were. Whatever the true answers were, trust the government to hide such discovery from the people. How do you want them to explain that aliens have probably left the space they were so engrossed in, and they now live somewhere nearer to us? A very hard one, if you ask me. But thanks to Joe Rogan, who spilled the tea in his podcast, the world now knows how close aliens are to the planet Earth. In fact, thinking about how the UFOs flew into the sky, it is most likely that aliens are now shuffling between space and the ocean depths. That's if they are not more settled in the dark ocean depths anyways. With that revealed truth, the next discovery will now make a whole of sense. Aliens living in a wide, cold lake.
Yeah.
That there's some sort of alien base underwater or some meeting place, or that's where they hide. That's where they go to be.
Even after a few signs of aliens living underwater, the government remains in doubt, and they continue to hide the discoveries from the people. It may be that the idea of aliens finding their way to our planet and living peacefully here doesn't make sense to them, or they just do not want the information to be made public. However, the question of whether the UFOs found underwater belong to aliens or not was answered when real aliens were seen under a cold lake in Russia. If you would ever imagine a place where it is not likely to find living creatures, then it would be in the depths of the Russian Lake Baikal. Except for creatures that are specially made for the extremely cold waters, you should be shocked when you find a living thing swimming under the lake. The lake is located in the southern part of Siberia, and it is majorly known for being icy and cold all year round. So, it would make sense if living things are not found there, especially in the coldest depths. Lake Baikal is known to have some of the most extreme features you can ever imagine. First, it has a perfect combination of both depth and width. Imagine a body of fresh water covering over 30,000 square meters. Yeah, that's even larger than the whole of Belgium. This size and depth is the reason why Lake Baikal is considered one of the largest in the world. With a depth of over 5,000 feet, it is also the deepest lake in the world, and it holds a whopping 20,000 cubic kilometers of water. Extreme features, but the sound really amazing, right? Sure, but the other extreme may not be that great. Though Lake Baikal holds 20% of the world's freshwater volume, and it stands out among other freshwater lakes in the world, it is a no-go zone for most people because of its freezing temperature. With every area of the lake, the temperature varies, and it even gets chiller as you go down the depth. Okay, let's put a figure to that. During winter, the water temperature can drop as low as 50 degrees, and it gets so chilly that the water begins to turn to ice as you go down. In fact, the ice gets as thick as 6 feet sometimes, and it's so solid that some risk-takers even travel across the lake in cars during the peak of winter. Now, I guess that should give you an idea of how thick and strong the ice really gets. With such an extremely cold temperature, no human would ever think of swimming to the depths of the lake, or even swimming it at all. However, this seems to be a win from some extraterrestrial creatures. Just as Joe Rogan said, there may be aliens chilling beneath the surface of the waters that humans cannot reach. I mean, since most humans think that the depths of the great waters are no-go areas, the aliens may have found safety at these depths. They would be glad that no humans would come near them, and Lake Baikal was one of those places that made sense. Just recently, rumors started flying around that some classified government documents that date as far back as the 1980s have been found. It looked like the documents were intentionally kept hidden because they seemed to contain the detailed information of a paranormal encounter that happened beneath Lake Baikal in 1982. Sincerely, the paranormal encounter under a lake would not make sense at the time, and they probably didn't want to cause unnecessary uproar. So they kept the paranormal event as a top secret, but the truth was revealed when the documents were uncovered. The documents were discovered several decades after the bizarre incident, and it gives a detailed report of how certain men of the Navy encountered aliens under the wide, cold lake. The men went on a diving training at Lake Baikal, but unknown to them, the usual diving training would lead them into an unknown truth: the existence of aliens on our planet. As the training began, they grabbed their diving gears and plunged into the ice-cold lake. Since they were trained men who had the necessary gears needed to swim such depths and temperatures, they seemed to be doing okay for the first few hundred feet. But things got weird when they came across certain creatures that had the appearance of humans, but were certainly not humans. The humanoid figures were dressed in shiny silver suits, and it didn't look like their diving suits in any way. Now, this was where things got really shocking. The creatures were at that cold depth with silver suits, but they did not have any diving apparatus. That was the proof that they were definitely not humans, because no human would exist at that depth and temperature without oxygen tanks or scuba gears. They were just chilling at the depth of the ocean like they were used to it, and it wasn't such a big deal. So, obviously, they were some creatures more powerful and advanced than humans. Most definitely aliens. However, since the idea of aliens wasn't really acceptable at the time, the divers called them Lake Baikal swimmers after they made it to the surface. Now, it gets even worse. After the divers fled to the surface, and they reported how they had seen the humanoid Lake Baikal swimmers, their superiors had plans. Guess what? They were told to go back to the depth of the lake and capture one of them as evidence. And that was where it all got messy. 7 strongest and bravest men were selected to go to the depths of the lake, and they were all set to find the creatures and bring at least one of them to the surface. After hours of searching, they bumped into the strange creatures. However, it would be a huge task because they were like dwarfs in front of the aliens, who were at least 9 feet tall. You would think that they would forget about the mission and return home safely, right? Well, they didn't think that the aliens could become dangerous, but in the end, they knew who was the boss. They tried to capture the aliens, but they seemed to have a kind of technology that suddenly propelled the divers to the surface. This sudden rise to the surface caused decompression issues, and most of the divers couldn't make it home alive. The ones who did were in a very bad shape, and they needed a series of treatments to recover from the impact. Though the truth was hidden for decades, now the world knows that we've probably been looking at the wrong place. The aliens that scientists claim to be looking for in space now live in the unreachable depths of the water, and the government seems to know this. The reason they chose to hide this truth from the public is best known to them. But one thing is sure. They could be scared of the kind of technology these extraterrestrial creatures possess. I mean, the Lake Baikal and the submarine UFO encounters just shows how advanced the aliens might be. Could there be something else that the government knows about the extraterrestrial creatures hiding out in the oceans? I guess only NASA and the government are in the right position to provide answers to that. All right, this is where we would bring this eye-opening topic to a close. Hope you had an interesting time learning about these discoveries that have been kept hidden for a while. Do you think it is possible that aliens really exist under the oceans? Or were the discoveries mere coincidences? Let us know what you think about this topic in the comments section.